Yeah, it goes on Facebook. You know what goes on Facebook? The SideQuest live on Facebook. This is the world's greatest video game podcast that we do it every week.
Not. Legal disclaimer, it is not.
Legal disclaimer.
I mean, legally, I think we can say that because you can say the best movie in the world and it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. I mean, somebody thinks our podcast is the best, so it really doesn't matter. We are one of the longest running.
It's not any four of us, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Make Ryan Gann make an episode 0 of every side questing episode between the start and now. He did it for Joystick. Why not us?
Yeah, I was a part of that. I was the one that edited that. It was actually Aaron and Ryan put that one together.
God.
Yeah, Ryan was coordinating. Aaron was collecting, and then I was splicing it all. I just found the freaking file I had on my hard drive. I have a short version.
I still remember when Justin McElroy would be like, all right, it's time to call Ryan Gann on Skype and see if he picks up. And then he would and then Ryan would tell us a story about like how he knew that he was getting called by Justin and he refused to ever talk to him.
I have a short, I think the actual version that went out was a little bit over an hour. And then I have a truly 3-hour version of the Joysticks episode 0.
Snyder cut of
the Taika Waititi cut. No, it's a Taika Waititi cut of Thor Ragnarok. It's 4 hours long.
Oh, goodness.
How are you guys doing, my friends? Wonderful. I'm Dolly Domofsky. Joining me, above me, is the one, the only JJ Holder.
Yeah.
Beards regrowing.
It's been a week. I'm already at 5 o'clock. Yeah.
It's 5. Yeah, it's late. It's much more than 5 o'clock.
I was gonna say you're looking at least 10 o'clock, my man.
Yeah, he already has a longer beard than I have, and I've been trying to grow it for the same amount of time. To JJ's, technically his right, your left, kitty corner for me, like Michelangelo's touching of God, whatever. I don't know.
Creation of man.
Creation of man. It is Zach. Okay, Quest.
Yeah, I'm in the kitty corner because I'm a child.
Yeah.
You're a child.
Yeah.
I said
small table.
Kitty.
Because he's a child surrounded by kittens.
Yeah.
Yes, there you go. And that luxurious voice that you heard there is the one, the only Taylor Bliss.
You get to officially hear the I'm sick version of the voice, so lucky you.
Stefan joined us right away and says it's so weird seeing only one beard.
I mean, listen, at least you get one.
Yeah, one full
This thing's
beard.
never gonna go, so you'll always
just don't make any silly bets, and you can last.
Yeah.
Well, hey, gents, it's awesome to see you guys on a Sunday night. I will say that last week's episode was the most viewed episode in like a couple months for I have no idea why. Probably because I wasn't on it.
Oh, really?
Probably.
Okay, then see.
Probably because it was.
How many views we got now?
Oh my God, we're spiking. We're spiking. I was gonna say maybe they saw that. Maybe they saw how long the episode was and was like, "Yeah, I can tolerate this."
Oh yeah, what, an hour and a half? I think I had to edit it.
I think we made it under 90 minutes. I think it was like an hour.
It was no, we recorded under 90 straight up. That was before cuts.
Yeah.
I edited it to make it longer and worthwhile for everybody.
Just added 8 minutes of uhs and ums just scattered throughout the episode.
Purposeful pauses that I had in there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Staggered stuff. But we're back this week in a wonderful time. I'm sure we'll be had by all. There is surprisingly plenty to talk about this week.
Is there?
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Well,
the Japanese Prime. No, I'm just kidding.
No. Oh no.
Already on the Team Fortress 2 shop, you can.
Oh,
Lordy.
I need you guys to vamp while I'm getting the tweet sent out.
Shroud joined Sentinel's Valorant team.
Shroud
crazy.
Resurrects from his retirement to be a pro Valorant player.
Crazy. That's kind of actually because he's probably honestly arguably better now than he was when he was a CS:GO player or a CS.
Well, he's been grinding Valorant since Valorant came out, I would say. Aside from his stints into MMORPG apps, just
very true. But yeah, it's just crazy. He's aged like a fine wine. He's going. So I think that's really interesting.
Fine wine.
I mean, the thing about Valorant is that, I mean, it's almost as twitchy as Go, but because of abilities and stuff, I think personally there's a little bit more leeway on Twitch reactions that let somebody who's I mean, we're talking about with Shroud's like 29 or something, maybe he's 30 now. I don't.
Way too old in the.
Well, but I'm saying, but competitively speaking, in esports, it is old. And he still knows a lot about how to play competitive games. But yeah, it is interesting. It's relevant. He's one of the top, probably the top 0.01% of Twitch streamers' personalities on the platform. So, previous Mixer.
No longer on Mixer. But the other news, which is inconsequential to Shroud, obviously.
Then I don't care about it. Let's skip it.
You don't care about it at all. I might as well share. Let me hide this, so I'll share that later. Is that the King is back, everybody? E3 2020.
Oh yeah, I forgot about this already.
It is.
You already forgot, baby.
Yeah.
But it's being handled by ReedPop, who did a very excellent PAX East this year.
Have been doing it for quite some time.
Yes, they have been doing it for quite some time. They've got it down, and I think them handling E3. It's funny because I mentioned. I think I mentioned in Discord. Didn't we say that ReedPop should handle E3? Somebody did in one of our episodes, and and it came true. Kudos.
I will say,
there.
ReedPop knows how to run an appealing convention. Something that is enjoyable to attend. And I think that E3 was to a certain degree, but I think it was enjoyable for reasons different than what ReedPop creates. E3 was desirable to be there because of what it had already been and its transition out of an industry event, and so people just were in love with an industry event.
Yeah, it's interesting because like ReedPop before PAX was strictly comic book conventions. Like that's what they were putting on, was comic book conventions. And comic book conventions are so fundamentally like they're similar but so different from PAX.
Sure,
what they're trying to accomplish and what they're trying to do. And I think like.
But when you think about the fundamental differences between a comic convention and a games convention, they didn't bring over a lot of that stuff. No. I mean, comic convention is so personality based in getting people there, and ReedPop didn't look at PAX and be like, we have to do all those things.
Well, and another thing that like ReedPop has to do for like comic conventions is to make it like reasonable because it's a consumer event at a comic book convention in a different way than like PAX is a consumer event. New York City Comic Con, Emerald City Comic Con, all of those. You go there to meet the personalities, but you're also going there to purchase. You're there to buy. It's not like that with PAX. PAX is definitely more of like it's an expo as in its name. It is there designed to showcase as opposed to a comic show. So I think the PAX part of it really will help the E3 part. Like they're already got their foot in the door of what you expect. I just think they scale it back a little bit to
I mean, I think that with how long they've been doing PAX for this point in time, they have relations with the people that go to the booths. They also just happen to have also relations with booths that you wouldn't necessarily think of being at E3, although Dally, you know better than I do since I never went. But I would assume a lot of the merch stuff isn't quite as included.
It was definitely not. So merch at E3 really wasn't a thing until the last 2 years when they really started getting
and they started letting people
and then they started to feel the stranglehold of death upon them.
Yeah, exactly.
You make money? No.
They had Sorry, no, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say like Repop makes it enticing for these people to want to come in and hawk their wares, which
Right.
up until very recently wasn't really a thing at PAX. So you could see that part encroaching in because PAX used to not have that. Like there was like
Right.
1 or 2 merch booths outside of their own like Penny Arcade stuff, and now it's just you saw at PAX East, like the whole back half of that convention was
there was a merch section.
Yeah,
I mean, it's literally a devoted area. So
it'd be interesting to see if what E3's like future is.
As the so far the only 4 of us, the only one of us 4, thank you, that's been to E3 is myself. So all I'm going to do is speak from the experience of being there in the past. Who knows what it's going to be like next time? But merch wasn't a big thing, like I said, up until the last couple of years. But ESA makes the majority of their money for the year from holding this expo.
Right.
They've kept the expo was exactly the same for so many years. And then they realized there were monetary concerns. So they moved. Remember, they had those like 2 years of hotel meetings, which were just horrible.
Which is when PAX became
exactly
that it is now.
That's when PAX became the craze. So E3 said, "Okay, let's go back to holding it at a convention center." Spike TV. But they make the majority of their money, but they're not good at planning E3. They were never good at planning Expo. The ESA can do what it needs to do to fight for the gaming industry, whatever respect it's doing. But when your whole year is focused on this one event and you're not having it and you organize it poorly, especially the last few years, then it's not going to do well. I mean, to the point where Microsoft wasn't on the show floor anymore, right? They had their Mixer booth, but then people stopped caring about Mixer. Sony wasn't there. Sony left those last 2 years of E3 when Sony used to have a massive booth. I remember the olden days. You would have it used to be Microsoft and Sony, Xbox and PlayStation were across from each other on the same. Like you could walk down the hallway and one side was green and one side was navy blue, and you knew exactly where you were. And then Nintendo was off somewhere in the opposite corner. And then Sony
in the corner.
Yeah, and then Sony left, so Nintendo took Sony's spot. And then Microsoft left as Xbox, and they put Mixer in there. And obviously Activision had been gone for a while, for a few years. I think the last time Activision was there was with WW2, World War II. Wait, maybe it was WW2. Call of Duty, WWE.
Oh, Call of Duty.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember going there because they also had like some Skylanders thing or whatever they wanted to show us at the same time. But that was it. Like they didn't go the last couple of years. Everything else they had was up in like mini offices, satellite offices. EA was only there through like little satellite rooms because they held. So companies were leaving. Companies were leaving a lot, very quickly, very rapidly over those last few years. So to me, it was important for the ESA to understand that they're not a party planner. Just do what you need to do, which is fight for the studios, fight for gaming, and let somebody else actually handle the show. Now, with that said, we don't know what's going to happen with this show. We've from one end we heard it's mostly going to be industry. I think Schreier or Totillo actually wrote that up. On the other side, we've heard it's going to be way more public than it has been in the past. I've also heard something in the middle. Truth be told, they're still trying to figure that out. They don't.
Yeah, there's no way anybody knows, because here's the thing: is that we just got the announcement.
Yeah.
Which means that maybe they've been shopping it for like a few weeks before that, maybe a month.
I will say this: it's been logically.
Oh, actually, no, that's true. It has been months.
It has been months. So they've been planning this since 2019. From ReedPop has been involved since.
Okay.
Like at least 18 to like directly 18 plus months, I think is what their statement said. But they've been in negotiations since 2019, and I think the pandemic actually made the ESA finally realize that they like spat something out last year to just do it. They're like, we just need to get something out, hire a company to make a website and call it the virtual E3.
Bro, that's so
Yeah,
bad.
it was
oh
worse.
My gosh.
Yep.
It was so
And so
bad.
and it was red. There was nothing to do. In the meantime, they were negotiating with ReedPop, like to get the final details down. So
I guess where I was coming from on it was from the perspective of we're not going to know what it is until we know who's going there, and those conversations, because the ReedPop thing was only finalized recently, like you can have murmurs and you can be whispering to people about like, hey, yes, we want to see you on the show. Until the PR announcement drops and it's public, shit doesn't really start for real. So now that's happened, we'll find out pretty fast.
I will say this. So when the news broke, I ended up holding a little Twitter Spaces thing. I had a few folks on there and speaking to SideQuesting adjacent Dan Hevia, which we all love. Dan brought up a good point because Dan is in the weeds with a lot of this stuff, and we know a lot of the folks that are involved in this. And that's you don't announce this until you have enough backing from folks. Right. So there are already enough of the major partners that the ESA is working with to have announced this event. So
that's fair point too.
Probably Square Enix and Capcom, probably Nintendo. I'm gonna put that in there, and probably Xbox. PlayStation is whatever it is.
You think they secured Nintendo? Nintendo was like the first to drop.
No, I think they still
there's
nothing this year.
Yeah,
they still had like a booth though. They still had like things there.
Oh, they just didn't do a showcase. You're right. Okay, yeah. That's right, because they did the Treehouse at their booth.
Yeah.
And Nintendo's booth was always massive. The Smash Brothers booth was massive. I didn't go in 2019, but 2018, that's all people talked about was the Nintendo booth.
And here's the thing, it's ReedPop. I mean, like
exactly.
This is what they do. Their whole job is to negotiate with some of the most powerful names in an industry. These are the people that are used to working with like Marvel and DC and Disney and all these people to get them, or even like high profile Hollywood superstars to appear at conventions all across the country. I mean, that's what these people do. And this is going to be the first E3 back. This is going to be their first E3. They're going to go absolutely nuts on the marketing, on the messaging, on the E3 back and better than ever. In the months leading up to this, you're going to get sick of hearing about ReedPop's E3. That's for damn sure.
I think what we're going to see might just be like every big publisher or console, like those the big three. They're going to take the stance of we'll do a digital thing,
I agree,
but have a booth, just like Nintendo's done it. Like everyone's going to do that. It's not going to be like, let's all go to the theater and go watch this thing. It's not going to be that. It's going to be you watch the things before the show. The show opens up, and then you go experience those things that you just saw. It's. I don't think we're going to go back to the everyone's getting into the theater. All these live people here seeing this, movie thing.
Those are gone. Those are gone.
I want my Xbox. Okay.
No. To your point, to both your points actually. Xbox did do the kind of the fan fest stuff, right? Where you and I think one of the first E3s that I went to. Actually, I remember Ryan Gann and I went to E3 where they announced the Elite Xbox, where the black one, kind of towards the end of the life cycle, or they gave them out to everybody in the audience. Well, they had us in a satellite room because it was already full by the time we got to Xbox. They were being really strict at the time. No, we of course didn't get one. But we were in the satellite room, which was basically a little like a banquet hall at the JW Marriott, I think, like next door to the convention center. They just packed like 500 people in there, and we ended up going over the message. There you go. Good job.
That's my mom. Hey, mom.
Awesome. Your mom is awesome. Hi, Zach's mom.
Hi, Zach's mom.
But that kind of morphed into the whole fan fest thing, and like obviously the Nintendo store shows were fantastic. The live streams there, like you get people together in one spot to watch Playland, to watch these events. I think there is some aspect there. So I could actually see these virtual showings, right? Just like how Summer Game Fest did the same thing. You said you can go to an IMAX and watch, and PlayStation let you go to IMAX theaters. In fact, that's how Sam and I went to E3. We didn't go to the Sony press conference that one year where they showed Resident Evil 2 and a bunch of other stuff, and Ghost of Tsushima. We actually went to the theater, which ended up being a hell of a lot better. Pardon me. We went to the theater that was off-site, and obviously you could do IMAX all over the country. So I think that there is going to be a strong push for that aspect. Get these little mini fan fests. You could almost do, I hate to say satellite E3s, but you kind of could do these little, tie it into like an AMC where
local E3 watch parties.
Local E3 watch parties, like I was gonna say AMC, Taylor's favorite NFC hub, where he gets all the cool stuff.
All my coolest
I've definitely
theater.
got 2 of them.
Yeah, but no, I think you could do these little local areas, and that could be really interesting from that standpoint, right? So you get these little like local watch parties around the U.S. You can buy a whole day's worth of streams to watch all the cool stuff happen. That
your
is really
ticket includes exclusive access.
Exclusive NFTs.
Or NFTs. But I think there's something really cool there. Again, I'm not privy to any of this stuff, but we don't know what it's going to be. Like I said, all we know is that they've got companies on board. That's the only reason they fully in it, because they did say E3 is coming back next year. They said at the beginning of June, before Game Fest, before all that kind of stuff. We're gonna be back in person next year. But they didn't announce any details. And this was the shot to say, here it is. We've basically got the major plot line figured out. Now we've got to fill in the holes and sign contracts on merchandise, on floor space, on which does take a year to do. It takes a long time. But to me, it's actually very encouraging. And I know there's negativity out there from folks within the industry who are like, man, we don't need to do, why be in person? Why include the public? But man, those same people, those same journalists are going to be front and center, first in line to be at that E3. Fine, if you're going to be ripping on E3, don't go. Leave space for more of us at SideQuest and the smaller sites.
Those press people also go to PAX, and they don't say the same thing about PAX.
Yeah.
So
right. And again, we don't know what this is going to be. We don't know if it's going to be more like PAX, if it'll be more like the older E3. I don't know, but
what we do know is that really cool. What we do know is that Jeff still has his thing going on within a couple of weeks.
Yes. Now that's aspect,
a bloodbath of a fight.
I will let you know. Read that opinion piece that's on Games Industry, because I think in there they even mention Chris Dring, I think, wrote that piece on Game Industry. They even mention potentially trying to work with Jeff to get something together. Now, Jeff had issues with the ESA proper, right? Because ESA proper is, you couldn't organize them. So it was a mess. Yeah. But
I could imagine as a people. Yeah. I could imagine as a person that is creating like actual television, like for all intents and purposes, Jeff Keighley's trying to create actual like television, actual media content, and to have this sort of scatter shot. I'm not saying he is Zach. I'm saying he's trying to.
He's just creating a commercial. Yeah, an hour-long commercial.
What that? Yes. Again, he's creating TV.
But give Jeff that live stream. The kickoff to E3 is Summer Game Fest live stream at IMAX.
That's what I'm saying.
For 4 hours, whatever.
But to have such a scattershot company that doesn't know how to put together something must be frustrating when you're trying to create something on the scale that Jeff is attempting to do.
And Jeff was tied to E3. I think we even talked about it in the past. It was great to watch him do those interviews, because he asked hard questions to people like Reggie, like Phil Spencer, whoever was in charge of Sony PlayStation at the time. He went after folks, asked some great questions. Those interviews that he did, to me, that's more interesting, because Jeff is actually, from the journalism side, Jeff's good.
He's amazing
at creating content people want to watch, because he's kind of fine. He found a void that was out there and he filled it with that. But anybody can do a game stream, as we've seen. Anybody can do whatever, an award show. But Jeff has the journalism
4 idiots can record a podcast.
4 idiots can record a podcast that somehow has 7 viewers at once now. Jeff's journalism side, I think, is great. And I know the ESA tried to do it with him when they had that kind of weird off stage stuff where Jeff was running that didn't go over very well because they had like Elon Musk one year. Remember that? Talk about playing games in a Tesla or whatever. But
they had like Jamie Kennedy one year. Do you
Jamie
remember when he
Kennedy,
was doing that?
Oh my god!
Yeah, but from the actual journalism side, I think there's some merit there. But anyways, I'm very optimistic about this, to be honest.
I want to say Jeff, he, despite being kind of like polarizing, he's not really. He's like just kind of a guy, and he's easy to hate. He's really easy to like, but he's also really in tune with gaming in general.
Yeah.
So like the questions he asks, like especially during E3, are things that people are thinking. Like
right.
he'll ask questions that I want to know.
Yeah,
and it's not questions direct. Like for a PR standpoint for the company, it's a PR standpoint for him because he wants to get that like headline, but it's a really interesting way that he does things. And I just want him back on the field, just being like, hey, Reggie, why do you like NFTs and why did you split the stock at GameStop and like whatever, right? Like, so.
I mean, are you guys more or less interested in E3 right now?
I'm more interested than I have been, but the deciding factor is going to be I still think there should be a press day and then a public day so people can do all the things they need to do. If that's not going to happen, I don't want to go. Like I just want like a press day where I can go and see all the things and then leave. That's what I want.
The great thing about PAX East is that press hour.
1 hour.
It's only 1 hour, unfortunately, but there's enough stuff out there that
it was great.
It
was great like right now for PAX because everything's kind of a smaller game, so it's not like you're gonna sit down for like the hour 45 minutes of like Resident Evil 2 or something.
Right. You need a lot more time for the other stuff. Give me press days, give me a couple press days. And the thing about the press is we don't care about the design of a booth. I'll be in a conference room. I'm totally fine in a conference room playing. And maybe that's a part of it. Maybe it's the actual games that are on the show floor are in conference rooms as well. So it's like, forget about the stuff they did that in the past. But it was very tightly controlled for the conference rooms. Maybe that part is more open.
And there's also been so many instances where they show off like builds to press that are garbage, but they show the concept of a game to the press, and they won't show that to the general public because the general public will be like, "Dude, this game sucks. It's never going to come out." Blah blah blah. But it's like, like we understand, like we play games in that state sometimes too. So it's a very different ball game there.
Now, I also think you don't want to make this into another PAX, right? You don't want to make it an event where it's like,
I don't think they want to.
I don't think they want to either. No, because you still have to focus on the business aspect. You have to focus on advertising. You have to focus on retail because retail is still a part of this, even though more stuff is going digital. And you have to focus on mainstream media because people start thinking about Christmas now. I mean, we got Prime Days. Amazon Prime Days is this week. You better believe I'm going to buy some crap. But the next run up is then, especially now with all the supply chain stuff, everything happening, the whole idea of retail is completely upended. And so I think it's important that the retail now sees what's coming out of gaming so that they know how to plan and how much to order going forward. It is a very important time right now for retail. So I definitely think you don't want to make this a PAX. At the same time, make these little fan fests, like we were saying, could be kind of a fun. And like, again, E3 is either at home, you just watch the live streams, or you go to your theater because they've signed on to IMAX theaters. Or if you're in LA, you go to the Summer Game Fest, which is maybe it's tied into the EA Play part. Maybe it's tied into a little bit of Xbox because they had that in the past. The Xbox Fan Fest was on site and you could play the Xbox, people who are Xbox Live members, other, fans and stuff could actually register and go there. You could still do those things. Maybe that's the Summer Game Fest stuff. Maybe that's the community things.
Or they take a note from Steam and do allow people who are at home to play the demos, play like the the things. Like, hey, here's an hour-long slice of this game. Like, do a Steam Next Fest demos type thing, but for consoles, like, or for whatever.
Well, again, Microsoft made that note, right? That they're essentially doing that for the Xbox. You can do that. Mm-hmm. I know even way back in
Sony as well.
Sony, way back in the Wii and Wii U days, the Wii days, you could go to Best Buy and play. Yeah. They literally had the demo that's on the show floor. They had just announced. They had sent the disc to Best Buy so you could pop the disc in. And I remember I was at E3 one year and I played Smash Brothers for Wii U at E3, and then I came home. I think I came home on Thursday night, and Friday you could walk into Best Buy and play Smash Brothers on Wii U, which was wild to think. It's like, oh, great. The game that I just played on the show floor at E3 that everybody was talking about is right here, and I can play it right here at Best Buy. So, yeah, I think there are, and that's the aspect that could be kind of interesting for retail. You play it at home, you can go to your local game store and play stuff there. I think, nobody understands that better than ReedPop in terms of how to connect with people. But they do New York Comic Con, and which is massive. They do some like Wizard events too, or I don't know what else.
I think Wizard's their own thing, but I know they do my comic, the Emerald City Comic Con. So.
Yeah, Emerald City Comic Con, which is huge. Yeah, there's a lot of we were asleep. The great thing about E3, they have two media rooms. They have the one media room, which is like you walk in, it's just rows of computers or tables just to work, and then the room next to it is also a media room, which is you walk in and it's just couches because everybody's so fucking drained. It's couches and beanbag chairs and floor space, and half the time people are asleep. It's great.
It used to also be the B-roll also was like the most important part of E3 because that's how you just like saw it on the news. Like you would turn on the local news and there's the E3 footage of all the B-roll.
Yeah. My highlight of E3 is game trailers and easy allies. Eventually they always did this thing where they would rate the carpets for each booth. They would go into the booth and like rate the different carpets. It's just great. Like stuff like that is really fun.
That's fantastic. So there we go. E3, it's on its way back. We're excited. They got Chris Dring, they got Guy Blomberg there. Guy's fantastic as from the biz dev side. So yeah. I'm sure we'll hear more. Media, they're actually doing media registration early. Usually media registration is like February before E3, so you're kind of figuring out what the plan. They're starting at the end of this year, which is cool. So I'm just curious to see how that goes. But let's move on. There is some other news out there. One that I somehow remember Taylor saying that this definitely wasn't going to happen. But lo and behold, God of War is actually launching this year.
It can still be delayed,
It can still be delayed. No,
Did I say that?
No. Somebody on one of the podcasts said it's going to get delayed. It's going to be delayed. I can't remember if it was you. It was
100% me.
I was like, I don't remember. I don't doubt that I could have said it. I just don't remember being that enthusiastic about it if I did.
I was also pretty enthusiastic about Elden Ring being delayed, and that never happened. So
well, they are working on some DLC apparently for Elden Ring. But anyways, November 9th, and they just showed the cinematic trailer. Just with the date tease on there, and that was it. Sony's been really weird this year with information about their games. I mean, there's only this game the rest of this year, right? It's just God of War, and that's it. But 11/9/22
pretty
for
much
your two consoles that you probably already own.
Hey, look, it's me.
It's you. With the two consoles you already own, PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. This is probably the last year we're going to be seeing that.
That's the other thing about it is that, like, I got to wait.
Oh, wait, no, last
3 years.
Also. Yeah.
Well, I got to wait another 3 years for me.
Now, here's where I'm at. I'm going to definitely buy. Well, I need to wait to hear about Final Fantasy 16 more before I buy a PS5. Mm-hmm. But I might just end up buying one to play this and just keeping it for Final Fantasy 16.
Sure.
So, I don't know.
I forgot Last of Us Remake Part 1, whatever, is also coming out specifically for PS5 this year.
But it's on PC. So
maybe I'm a hater. Maybe I'm a hater for it. I don't like that. Doesn't count to me.
Yeah.
Last of Us,
Like-
no, it doesn't either. It's a remake.
No.
I don't
It's-
feel like it. No. But anyways,
yeah,
this game is coming out this year. We're gonna see a little bit older Atreus. We can find out. I'm sure we'll find out more of what happens to him. I'm not gonna spoil the game. The first
Just
one,
say
but-
it. Say it right now.
No, listen. I mean, I can.
It's
If I go high, I can either go like up high, or I can just low key tell you exactly what's going to happen. I'm not going to. No,
Yeah.
no, it's Norse mythology. No, we were saying, what's going to happen to God of War after this, because they when they said there was a second game coming, at that point they said it's only 2 games in this series. It's done in this portion. It's done. People, that was kind of low on the fruit. Low on the tree. People kind of forgot that. A lot of folks forgot that. So now it's bubbling up that it's like, no, there are only 2 games. It's only going to be 2 games in this series, because you don't want to overstay your welcome. Probably because there are so many Viking and Norse mythology games, right? This Valheim, obviously Valhalla, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Then there's movies, there's TV shows. So you did it. You got two iterations of this IP in Norse mythology. Time to move on. Who knows what'll happen after? I would love
Africa.
Go to Africa. I would love if he went to, I think I brought it up, North America, and work with like the Native American tribes.
the Assassin's Creed 3 of.
But like actually focus back then, like when I think it'd be kind of cool.
No,
I was gonna say this
God of War.
Yeah, I mean, like it literally is taking the Assassin's Creed route, though, right?
Yeah.
Because like remember at one point after Assassin's Creed 3, it was just kind of like, all right, what's gonna be next, or what locale? Yeah,
what century, what locale?
But then I actually only really gave a shit about that when there was the original interesting story of Assassin's Creed 1 and 2.
Yeah,
and then after that I didn't care anymore.
They decided to kill their main character.
Yeah.
Is
it Desmond or who would not?
Yeah,
Desmond just got straight up killed for no reason.
And then they were like, "Yeah, we don't. You know what? Actually, we don't need subplot anymore." Which actually, in my opinion, was the plot. But whatever.
It has an opening plot and an ending plot. And
it's a shame.
Yeah,
but it's coming out this year. Who knows where it'll go next? Like Stefan said, they've talked about Egyptian or Mayan mythology. I'd love to see Mayan mythology, because that's never really touched on.
Yeah, but somehow that's all the assassins doing all the same stuff again. Can't believe it. Even Mayans.
No, I was
God of War Origin. Wait, they already did that one.
In God of War Ragnarok, in the trailer, there's like an African girl in there, so it'll be really interesting to see, because like. I don't remember specifically. I think it might be like a pivot, because it would. But yeah, African mythology would be cool, because I don't know anything about that. Like, there is a distinctively out of the water character I've seen in that trailer that I'm like, yes, why is she here? So who knows? But the thing that they need to do with the next game is not do the same story. Don't do Kratos has a kid and he has to figure out how to love a kid. He's already done that. Like, we have to figure out.
He either figured it out or we didn't. We don't get to try and tell the story again.
Well, it's like it's like Star Wars now. All the new Star Wars stories is about a guy figuring out how to take care of a kid. So if we're going like God of War can't be doing that too. So,
or can it?
Last of Us, Star Wars, God of War. It's all about just an old guy taking care of a kid.
Man, how do I care for this kid? It's like, don't let it die.
Yeah.
Well, let's end
do
the
a movie
news portion.
spoiler, but we're not going to do that.
Let's end the news portion on a high note and potentially a laugh, which is hey, you guys remember Skull and Bones? It's still actually coming this year. Supposedly still coming this year. Good old Skull and Bones. I'm like, November, for real, maybe. They showed this
Dally
trailer.
You have to retitle this article. It no longer is an ampersand.
Oh, you're right. They changed it. Yeah.
Come on, man.
Okay.
So you're the reason why Skull and Bones isn't good.
That's why it was delayed. Because it was at first supposed to arrive in 2018. That 4-year delay was just to code out that ampersand, and now we did it.
Where's Beyond Good and Evil 2?
Exactly. Well, Ubisoft is having a Ubi Forward in September 10th. So Beyond Good and Evil 2 was still listed as being in production. I think they brought it up during their latest investor meeting. So I'm sure we'll
NFTs
see
are going to be in that game.
NFTs,
that's
an NFC-esque game if I've ever yeah. But
no, so have you seen the UI for this game? It gives me a headache.
Yeah, it's what the fuck is going on?
They released a couple. Was it screenshots or was it from the trailer?
Yeah, no, it they did a gameplay, like 15-minute gameplay thing, and like people were saying like this looks like those memes people made of Elden Ring. Like if Ubisoft made Elden Ring, it looked like this, and this game looks exactly like that. It's just crazy. Yeah. It's mind-numbing how much information is on that screen.
Yeah,
it's insane.
I love pirate stuff, but I cannot get into this in the very slightest.
It's Sea of Thieves, but not cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny, like we had Black Flag, right? Which was pretty successful with some of the boat stuff.
That game rules.
Rogue, was it Assassin's Creed Rogue, which was leaning even more into that. That was pretty cool. And then I thought, okay, that's enough. That was enough for me. And then Sea of Thieves came out. I'm like, okay, Sea of Thieves got it. I do not need more. It was doing different. I'm like, I do not need anything more than Sea of Thieves. And then they're like, we're still making a pirate ship game.
Yeah. Well, except Sea of Thieves is like a PvP game, though.
It is. Yeah.
But survival, open world survival PvP.
It's way more interesting than what this is in my.
So opinion. I remember reading of a dev diary for Assassin's Creed Black Flag. It was like how the idea for this game came about is they're like because the way the ship works and like Black Flag is like it's not like a real ship. It's like a really weirdly mashed together like thing that they made, and they're like, let's try and make this good to use for another game.
Yeah,
and then eventually spiraled out of control.
Well, because remember before Rogue came out, that was the rumor that they were working on an Assassin's Creed game that focused almost entirely around the ship combat, like it was going to be an Assassin's Creed ship combat game.
Odyssey has a lot of it too.
Yeah,
so it's just weird.
I don't care.
By the way, here I gotta pause this for a second because I gotta show you guys something. Okay, I'm pausing this. Here's what something that kind of blew my mind a little bit. Okay, forget Skull and Bones for a second. Do not even worry about this. Our top posts and pages. Our SDCC 22 party list, which is party lists always do good. Comic-Con. PAX Rising, because PAX Rising was this past weekend. Now that you have iOS 9, here are the games to get.
Well, then there's the Meet Cappy.
Oh my lord!
It's like 4 years ago.
Hold on. Meet Cappy was announced the same time. Cappy was announced the same time Skull and Bones was announced. So something actually came out that year. Yeah. Oh Lord, my goodness!
I do like if you scroll up to the recent reviews, only one of them is not me.
Right,
that's me.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. What year was iOS 9 released? Go.
Well, we're at what iOS 15. So
2009, 2010?
No, iOS 9 was probably 2017.
I was gonna say 2016.
June of 2015.
Wow. Nice. Perfect. Our most popular post of the last week.
Most of those games are completely unsupported now.
Exactly.
I bet Flappy Bird's
all these tower defense games. I have a Flappy Birds thing to talk about in a second here. But yeah, that's it. Any other news? I think that was it for news, right?
Halo Infinite is horrible.
Halo Infinite's having all kinds of
there's been
there's
been more stuff, but then there's also been some chatter about what was it, devs talking about their experience, or was it just is it no, it's basically just people talking about their experience working on the game.
It's like fighting for scraps, man.
Yeah, so like already Microsoft is a huge ass entity, and then 343 being a pretty big studio inside of it, and then you've got teams working on the game, and they're the teams working on the same fucking game are fighting for budget, and you're just like, dogs, what are you guys doing?
It reminds me of cyberpunk stuff that all came out.
Who the fuck is directing this game? Like, what do you mean you're fighting for budget? You're making the game. That's weird shit.
Like I was saying before, it's lacking some internal planning person, some like person to communicate to the big guys. Like, hey, it's lacking some really good producer. It needs a Yoshi P. It needs like someone who's like, hey, we're doing.
They
this,
need
this,
Excel
and this,
spreadsheets
and
now.
Yeah, like
I don't know. It's wild that they cut 2/3 of the game 2 years before release.
Yeah.
And that it still came out, and I don't know. It just makes it not surprising what we got, and how long it's taken to come out any more than what it is. But the way that Phil Spencer cares about Game Pass, they need somebody that cares that much about Halo, and they need that person to run 343, because whatever it is right now. They're either split too far or something, because 343 makes Halo, and the thing that they made wasn't good or not good enough.
Campaign good, multiplayer, the thing Halo's known for,
stinky, real stink.
A slight bit of happy news. Speaking of getting the right people for the job, kudos, congrats to friend of SideQuesting Anna McGill, who is now the narrative lead of Fable. For putting that together at Playground. She got her. She did the recent Avatar game that's going to be coming out. She were working on that. She was a narrative lead on Control, which is why Control is actually a pretty phenomenal
Control
game.
was fucking kick-ass narratively. So
yes, and she did in terms of narrative.
I'm excited for an Avatar game. Whoa,
yeah, and she did Death of the Outsider. She was a narrative lead on that as well. Is
she sure that she had to leave and not be narrative designer for the new Alan Wake game instead? Because that would have been pretty sick.
Anyways, congrats to her. I think it's always good news. Let's move on to games that we've been playing, because we're already at 47 minutes and it's Sunday night.
All right, well, I'm gonna go first because mine's gonna be short, and then it'll tie into Zach's because we have an overlap. Okay. So first thing. Factorio Multiplayer.
Whoa,
boy.
Yeah, so Factorio, who here has played Factorio?
Nope.
Zach, I'm not. JJ, you played Factorio?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Dali, tell me what Factorio is.
It sounds like, no, I think you guys have talked about it in the past. It's literally, you're like running a weird factory on a planet or something.
Oh! I
remember there were like things moving on like a.
Hey, there are definitely a lot of things moving.
There's a lot of things moving. So anyway, the game there's no narrative to the game.
No, it's not narrative.
It is you're on on an exoplanet, and you're trying to escape. I guess I don't know. Like again, that narrative doesn't even really exist.
You got to build a rocket ship to get off.
You got to build a rocket ship to get off the planet.
Yeah.
Anyway, so. You only start with like a mining pick, and there's coal, and there's going to be copper, and there's going to be iron, and you go from that to building a rocket ship, and there's a shit ton of stuff in between. So I'm doing multiplayer. We're on a multiplayer mod. The planet that you're on has these alien bug enemies called biters, which your machines produce pollution. The biters don't like pollution because it makes their planet bad. So
how would multiplayer work on that?
It's just everybody has. You build like conveyor belts and trains and shit, and you move materials around, and then you build shit. So everybody has free build access.
Here's how it works. Well, Taylor coughs his brains out. So basically,
Thank you.
So you have iron, bronze, and stone, coal, like your four basic ones, and those combine in different ways. So you use coal to put into a burner to make iron plates, and they use those iron plates to make like a conveyor belt, And then you also use that to make automated arms. And then you have to also make electricity with the copper, like get the wires. So it's just like you turn into making this whole thing, conveyor belt. Like it's basically like you're running an Amazon factory. Like, hey, like we got to figure out how to logistically ship everything out and make it move. And it's like these little boxes where you add
have to research
together.
Technologies, and the big way forward is that you research technologies. And typically, the technology, in order to go forward, requires that you have complex parts being like you take the complex parts and you turn them into science, and then you use the science to research. So you can't just be like, okay, cool, I'm making rods and now I can make an engine and now I'm done. No, because now you have to use engines and you need like 8,000 of them so that you can research the next thing so that eventually you can get your rocket, right? And it's just that loop forever. And so originally it starts out with you just need red science, and then you need green science, and then it keeps adding an extra layer of like, okay, well, last time you needed engines, now you need plastic, now you need batteries, and it's ever increasing complexity. Eventually you find oil, you need petroleum, you make plastic, you create robots, you create circuits, and then the circuits can be used to create machines.
It's my grandma. Why is she in here?
And anyway, so Factorio is really wild as it's in and of itself as a video game. Multiplayer.
It sounds like my style of experience, to be honest. I love this sort of tinkering, building. It's great.
I think you would like it because like you have these conclusions you need to reach, and you reach it, and then the next one shows up, and then you have to reassess what you just made.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you have to be.
By the way, Zach, my family avoids watching or listening to this, so I am completely jealous of you.
Yeah, so like you reach a conclusion, and then you have to logistically work your way back. Like, okay, how do I move these things to that to get to here? So it's like you're constantly adjusting. There is no best way to do something. It's always up to you and your situation. It's
nicely made because everything that you make can be removed, but you don't destroy it. It just goes back to your inventory.
Oh, wow.
So then you can just freely replace it again. And whatever you make isn't lost because chances are you need that to put it into the next version of it. So if you pull that thing up and you're like, oh, now this is just sitting here. It's like, oh, well, I want to make the better version of it. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? I needed that thing that I just quote unquote destroyed anyway. But anyway, so the multiplayer, to move this along, the multiplayer, basically the biters, we have this giant wall that's pre-populated. We can't go left. It's water. Wall. You can't go left. There's water there, and if you touch the water, the player dies. Every time a player dies, you have to fire one more rocket in order to actually get off the planet. And you're building your factory. You're making pollution. Eventually, that pollution gets over to the little bugs, and then they're really mad. So then they keep attacking the wall, but all the resources that you need are on the other side of the wall. In the bugs, so it's just this ever creep to expand out to forced combat on the stuff. It's anyway, it's a lot of fun.
Cool. That's awesome.
Factorio is a good game. And the other thing I've been playing is Last Call BBS.
That's a good game.
Oh, that's cool.
From Zachtronics. They're kind of last game.
This is on Game Pass, right?
Yep. It is a Game Pass game. So it's Zachtronics' last game. They are mutually departing once this is complete. Yep, that's just a decision that they came to.
They fried their own brains. They're like, it's time to chill.
And there are 6 games.
They're gonna add
7 if you include the regular Solitaire that's just built into it. Anyway, so Last Call BBS is there's 2 parts of it. It's the 7 games that are on it, and then there's the package, because what it is an old I don't have the any
all
notes,
right, so here we go. So
what's the name of the computer?
Oh, I don't even know. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Anyway, so what happened is the story is that you've been given this old, imagine like an old IBM clamshell type 1980s computer, right?
Oh, Tandy.
Yeah, something like
Handy,
that.
baby.
And this guy had this old computer. He used to work for the company that made them, and he basically put on, and then he ran like an old dial-up BBS server where he put pirated games. That's literally the whole thing. He pirated games and he put it on a BBS server for people to download. And the whole experience is really neat because you fire it up, you connect over a simulated modem to the BBS network to download these games that he has curated.
Please tell me that there is a waiting period after you dial in.
Yes. So you dial in, you pick a game, it takes
5-6 minutes to download it.
Yeah, it takes like 6 minutes to download. There's Solitaire built in. So like literally here's how the experience goes.
Or Xbox, are you playing on?
Well,
I'm playing it on PC.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm adding it right now. I'll download it after this is over. All right,
yeah, so you literally the first experience is you boot up the thing, you have a memo pad. It's the note from the guy who gave you the computer, and you're like, okay, cool. And then you connect to the internet. You contact BBS. You pick whatever game you want to try and download first. It takes 5 minutes, so you're like, okay, I'll play a few rounds of the built-in Solitaire that comes on the computer. The game finishes, it beeps at you, you boot it up, you realize this is too hard, you want to go back and download a different one, and guess what? You're on a 15-minute waiting period because you just downloaded something off the server and you can't do it again. So you're forced to spend 15 minutes trying to figure out one of these puzzle games, which are way too hard, are basically just trying to teach you computer if and or gates, and yeah. It's Sawayama, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is that's 20th century food.
That's Factorio.
It kind of. It actually feels very Factorio-ish.
This is my favorite one, where you build models.
So that's classified as the easiest one, where you're just building gunplas. But this one is actually super sweet. Although I also find it very interesting that they literally just gave away like 4 solutions to the puzzles, because it shows you the steps that you have to put in. But yeah, I don't know. It's very endearing. All of it is like you genuinely feel it.
Like explaining to the average like Xbox player what BBS is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
I will say,
go ahead.
Zachtronics games in general, I love all their games. Opus Magnum is probably my favorite, where you're an alchemist. You have like a set board. You have to combine elements to make another element. You just find the best way to do that. There's a nice story wrapped around that. They always have these really interesting stories wrapped in these puzzles. So they make the games hard on purpose, and they give it a good story. So you're like, oh, well, I got to figure out what this story is going to go. So it's really interesting how they do it. There's even a game they have called Shinzen IO, which is like you have to program the game from the ground up to see where it goes, which is like really cool. They give you a handbook, like an actual PDF, like, hey, here's 60 pages of this language, figure it out. Like it's just super like super novel things. And Last Call of BBS just feels like the greatest hits of all their things. Like, hey, here's all these, like, here's how all of our games feel. Especially the Gundam one. It's really interesting how it feels like you're building a model. Like it has all these steps. Like you cut the things out, you prime you paint it, you put it together. It's just really fun things to get your hands in and like mess around.
Every time you boot up one of the games that you download from BBS is you get a new memo pad note where guy who gave you the computer tells you about why he included it, or the reason why he put it on his BBS network in the first place, and they're all written extremely well. Like it's all very genuine feeling.
It's really cool,
and what happens is that I've only beaten one of them, like full clear, because you progress through more and more difficult levels. The only one I've beaten is their version of Spider Solitaire so far, which actually is kind of hard if you've ever played Spider Solitaire, where you have to, you play it on the hardest not Spider Solitaire, Free Cell, where on the hardest difficulty you start with only one open free cell. So that's my claim to fame, is that I beat hard.
Every one of their games has a solitaire mode, by the way.
Does it really?
It's like, this is the thinking zone. Time to go over here.
Have you played all of them yet, Zach?
I played the dungeon one, which is
hurt my brain. I couldn't do it.
What's that game? Picross? It's like that, but you build dungeons. Yeah, you're building. So it's like there's like treasure chests and monsters on the board. So it's Picross with that. And there's a logic like. Yeah. Treasure chests have a 3x3 room, and then like all monsters are at the end of a hallway. So you have the Picross numbers and that involved. So it just takes a lot, but it's not bad. I played that one and the Gundam one. Those are the only ones I like.
It was just cool. Like when you get to the Gundam one, and then he writes the note, and it's just like, yeah, I was surprised when somebody made this, because like, why? But it was cool, so I included it. That's the whole.
It's like a guy wanted to build models with his kid. So
so he just made this game. Anyway, it's just, I don't know. I would do it just to read all of at least the intro memos. The worst part is that you have to keep progressing, and then they give you more notes about, like, literally the background about this guy, about, the reason why, like, where he ended up at Sawayama. Sometimes the stories about how the games came to be in the first place, if he knows. And like Zach said, I want to know now, but my brain doesn't have enough wrinkles to beat these puzzles. There's one, it's literally making a computer chip. You have to put bare metal, and then you have to put silicon to make a functioning computer chip. I don't need to do that. I don't think I want to do that. I have to make transistors out of silicon.
Love it.
That's a video game.
They have this game called Eliza, which is really interesting. It's a visual novel where you play it's like, like a self-help app, right? It's essentially like there's never a computer at the end of that. There is a person at the end of that. Like all these self-help apps that are in the world have people behind it answering questions. So that's what you do during the game. And it's not really a puzzle game. It's just a story. It's really good. And there's also Solitaire in that one too. So
yeah. Nice. Anyway, I'm gonna have to go back and basically check out probably every Zachtronics game, to be quite honest.
They're cool. All right. So you said you were going to lead into Zach. Should we go to Zach, or JJ? Do you and I want to knock through these first? I don't know how long.
We know what.
Oh, that's true. Zach does have. Zach's got some stuff prepared.
Zach's prepared, and so are you. So I guess I don't have any. I could talk about comic books. I haven't really
talk about comics. Yeah,
talk about comics.
2021 was the biggest year for comic books of all time.
Yeah.
It was I think comic book sales were up 60% as a whole, and actual physical, and actual physical comics, the actual paper comic books from comic shops were up. We're up 39%, almost 40%.
Do you know what's driving that at all, or
just availability? The movies haven't really been affecting things too much because we are in year 20
kind of weird,
of comic movies. It's just sort of everything's kind of firing on all cylinders, and you have a lot of. I actually have the list of the top 10 books of 2021 to let you know where we're at. The number one book of the year was King Spawn #1.
Really?
Yeah, it was a big, huge launch. Huge. It was, it was one of those things where Spawn 2021 was the start of Todd McFarlane really going back to Spawn and pushing Spawn, because it's not the last time Spawn appears on this list. Number 2 is House of Slaughter, which is a Boom Studios comic, and it's a really good horror thriller-ish series that I highly recommend. It's really popular right now. Yeah. Number 3 is Gunslinger Spawn.
Oh, wow.
Which again, that's 2 Spawn titles in the top 5. Number 4 is Berserker number 1, which is the Keanu Reeves comic book series where he's like created it. He's credited as writer, but I think we know better. But also the main character is drawn to look like him. You got that. Number 5 is Venom 35, which I have hanging and signed by Donnie Cates over here on my wall.
Nice.
Donnie Cates's Venom series was a massive series for Marvel. It was one of their, obviously one of their top sellers. You should never have taken that down, you idiot. And he's now done with that and has moved on to Thor. Alien, Marvel's Alien, issue 1 was number 6. Moon Knight relaunch of Moon Knight number 1. Yeah.
Everyone was anticipating the show, maybe in that case.
Exactly.
Yeah.
X-Men number 1, Star Wars Bounty Hunters Alpha, and then Star Wars The High Republic number 1. High Republic had this huge push behind it because it's the early days of the it was the early days of the Jedi. It's like the people want to go back. People want to get as far away from the Skywalkers as possible. And they're kind of hungry for it, so that's why Knights of the Old Republic is sort of one of those things that to go that far back, thousands of years or hundreds of years or whatever.
The High Republic books are pretty good.
The comics, the comic is in my pull list. I like the because it's like Shadows of the Empire done right, because Shadows of the Empire was supposed to be their big multimedia nonsense where it was going to be it's soundtracks and video games and comics and books, and it never really took off that way. It was like, but High Republic is like it's a tie-in thing. Like there's books, young adult novels, and comics, and some spin-offs and stuff, and it's been really good so far. It's nice it's
it's a multimedia thing. It's like there's phases for it. So if you're into phases, you're like, hey, this is phase 1 of the High Republic. They're in like phase 3, I think. I'm working through the Audible books right now at work. They're really high quality. Oh, cool. Yeah, they're really high quality. Have a lot of good voice acting, sound effects. Like it sounds like a stage play kind of thing. It's really cool.
They've been really good all around on this Star Wars audiobooks for the Disney canon, but I highly recommend anything High Republic, just because it's Star Wars without being bogged down by so much of Star Wars. So that's good. And like the top graphic novels are The Department of Truth and Something is Killing the Children, which are just these massive success stories right now in comic books. So you'll see
they're turning that into a TV series, I thought.
Something is Killing the Children. And I think the House of Slaughter has also been picked up.
Oh, cool.
So how many sales total? Do you have the total sales?
For what in particular? Like,
for the whole thing, like all comics.
It was I think 2021 that broke 2 billion.
Whoa.
Yeah. Like
it's crazy.
Wow.
So that's awesome. Insane. Yeah, it's insane for comic books. Comic books are in like this like they've never been bigger, like, because even if you take back to the golden age or the silver age where comics were sort of at their peak in terms of sort of market penetration, because they were at, you could pick them up at the grocery store, you pick them up at the drugstore, you pick them up everywhere. It's hard to pick up comics, like, unless you have a comic book store that you go to, because like Barnes and Noble used to sell comics, but they don't anymore. Some grocery stores still do, but it just depends on the grocery store.
Yeah, it's like bookstores. Some bookstores do, like the smaller chains, and then comic shops and online, right?
Yeah, direct editions and digital comics, obviously.
Digital are huge. Yeah,
like I said, that's why comics altogether are up like 60%, while like physical ones are up like 40%. It's like this ridiculous these ridiculous numbers. I'm
I
excited
remember,
and love that comic books are like, and they're getting creators again. Like creators are coming back, and they're sticking with creators, which was always sort of a problem in like the 2000s and stuff.
Especially the Spider-Man ones.
Yeah, Spider-Man ones. Like, what was cool? So that was the thing. Like, I just got the other day one of my holy grail comic books, which is Thor 337.
Awesome.
And Thor 337 is the first appearance of Beta Ray Bill, which is one of my favorite characters. But what's most important is that it's the first time where Walt Simonson took over as the Thor writer and stayed, and is probably, when you think of Thor, a lot of the Thor stuff usually comes from one of two people. You get Walt Simonson or you get Jason Aaron. Those are your two. Thor Love and Thunder just came out, and that movie is kind of 100% based off of Jason Aaron's run on.
And it's the biggest launch for any Thor movie to date.
Yeah. Beat
out Ragnarok.
Yeah, it's really impressive to see.
Cool. Yeah, it's great to see this stuff.
To see that the comics are where they're at, and it's like I've been going through the Simonson and Aaron runs of Thor again because the Thor comics are really, really fun, and I love Jason Aaron. Jason Aaron is an incredible writer. His run on Thor is almost unprecedented at this point. Like, it was like 7 years or something. It was significant, and he reset the status quo for Thor in a lot of ways. Sort of because like they kind of took away a lot of the sort of like Dr. Blake and shit like that with Thor, and just made him a god again.
It was cool to see Thor do God stuff. Go to a planet and give it rain. That kind of stuff. Like, I'm going to make thunder so you can have rain.
Yeah, it was really going back to like the Kirby, because Kirby loved the big cosmic, big stories and stuff. So to like put Thor in these big cosmic circumstances where he's also a god, and to see him go through the turmoil, like him becoming unworthy, which leads to Mighty Thor, the storyline and everything. The reason why he becomes unworthy is like ridiculous. There was a storyline where Nick Fury whispers something into Thor's ear, and you don't know what it is for a significant amount of time, that made him lose all confidence in himself, where he doesn't hold the hammer. He can't wield the hammer anymore. And it just turns out he whispered Gore was right in his ear, which made him lose all of his...
I still don't know how I feel about the Jane stuff, the Jane story. I don't want to spoil it because I know it's in the movie. So
it plays out. It plays out wholly differently in the movie. Like,
it does. Yep.
But like, not like the reason for Jane wanting the hammer is relatively is the same, obviously.
Yeah.
But like, the machinations behind it and everything are completely different. It's kind of fascinating to see like what they did with Jason Aaron's stuff for this movie, because there's these like glimmers of like the great stuff that, because Aaron is a really, really good personal writer. Like, even when it's something like Thor, he did one of my favorite comic book series called Scalped.
Scalped.
I loved Scalped, where it was he goes back to the reservation to sort of investigate like crime, like organized crime on like, so he's sort of like, he's sort of like a rat to his own people kind of thing. It's a fascinating, a great story, and that was a Jason Aaron story. So he's good at writing like just people. And Thor Ragnarok Thor Love and Thunder doesn't really have a lot of that Jason Aaron people part of it. And
I was about to ask how you feel about the way Marvel's taken Thor, because I feel like Thor should reach a logical conclusion of like maturity, and they're just kind of leaving him as the comedic character. And I don't think I like it as much now.
It's hard it's hard because like growing up, the Thor that I always knew was sort of the goofball character, where it's like he was a god and he didn't kind of take anything seriously because he was better than everyone else, and you had a lot of stories with Hercules and stuff, which was always just sort of like two bros at constant butting heads kind of thing and stuff. 80s Thor was kind of good. Like Walt Simonson's Thor, despite being mostly serious, kind of makes Thor, like after he's done, sort of paved the way for a lighthearted Thor, which is fun. But like Jason Aaron's Thor is so like complex and fascinating, where he knew when to punctuate the comedy, because there's some good comedy in Jason Aaron's Thor run. But it's not like the Marvel style comedy, where Marvel can't let a few moments pass without a joke coming in, which doesn't bother me. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah. But like, this is one of those movies where it's a great it's just a great sort of standalone movie. But like, the problem we have now is that the MCU is kind of running in place. Like, they're, without spoiling too much, it's like they're setting up Young Avengers without ever announcing Young Avengers. Every movie, every show, everything has another new
Secret
Young Avengers
Wars is coming.
Showing it. We know Secret Wars is coming, but they've done like one thing to sort of...
Secret Invasion is coming as well, and that's...
whatever that is, because they can't do Secret Invasion the way the Secret Invasion happens. And there's, like, I don't know what the Secret Invasion is going to be in the live action stuff. Like, I could go on and on about like the potential of what can happen in the future with the Marvel stuff based off of like, but... Well,
Marvel's going to be at... Marvel Animation will be at was the fabled, was it Hall...
because they have like they got like
other Marvel stuff too. I think
they got like 3 animated series coming out or something. Like
3,
because there's X-Men 97 and some other
zombies,
zombies,
and what if?
There's some X-Men 97
and D23 is coming as well. So
D23 is usually where you get like the Marvel stuff. It's it's the E3 of Disney. So comics in a great place. Love it. I've never been more excited to be a comic book fan.
I think I remember reading that Demon Slayer in Japan, like that one series, sold more than the whole comic industry in the States.
Oh, almost certainly. Oh, and
it's
speaking of in terms of comic books, we just lost the creator of Yu-Gi-Oh, which in a horrible accident, and that's kind of a bummer. And he just recently released a Spider-Man series for Marvel, like called Secret Reverse. It's fantastic. It's a really, because like you open that up and you recognize immediately. It's like, oh, this is just like Spider-Man hanging out with the cast of Yu-Gi-Oh. Damn near. It's just it's his art style, and it's fun. If it's a good it's a good thing. So
all right, well, I'll hop into what I've been doing, because I'm glad.
Hold 1 second, because I'm JJ. I'm sorry, I missed what you could you just like go again.
Okay, so 2021 was the biggest year of comic books of all.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's awesome, JJ. Thanks.
I'm just kidding. I heard the whole thing.
Okay, I want you on this part, Taylor, because I'm playing something that's related to you. You and I should say, but to you specifically.
Okay.
Now,
it's weird.
You guys loved my fantastic, delicious games segment last week, which talked about this guy right here, right? The play date. Well, guess what? Using this is the best handheld game device on the planet ever created. Using this cord known as a USB cord and plugging it into this computer. Could be PC, could be Mac, could be Linux. I can very simply do this. Share the screen, share the video to the point where you can even see the little crank on there move, right? So
I'm so proud of you, Dally.
No, I think this is actually pretty fantastic that it's so easy to share video from a Game, you still can't share video from Steam Deck. Switch, you can only share 30-second little bits. So this is actually cool that you literally just plug it in and you
It's amazing what happens when you get a very resolution black and white screen and how easy it becomes.
Correct. Also correct. But anyways, I spoke last week about Life's Too Short and I think another game. Whatever. But Dungeon Escape. This week I want to talk about Cranky. Which sounds awesome, right? So I'm going to play here. I have the audio turned off, but I'm going to do the arcade mode. And really, this is just, I have to each kind of move, crank left and right. All it is an avoid game, right? You avoid it, but how much can you avoid? You try to get as many coins as you can. Simple idea. Oh, lost it. 4. That's my record, by the way. 4 is my record. Cranky is an interesting game. It's probably... it's one of those things where it's like I'm on the toilet and I just want to play something for like.
You just need to crunk one out.
Just need to crunk one out.
A new Cranky just dropped.
Yeah, new
Crankypedia.
But it's super simple. They have
Dally, go to the Crankypedia.
You got to go to the Crankypedia because there's a Crunko. The most
Turn Out Boy's another video game. Turn Out Boy commits tax evasion. That's a game.
Scroll to Turnip Boy right now.
That's literally him.
It's Turnip Boy.
Yeah.
So I think it's fantastic. You must die in this Crunko Pop in a run to obtain. So it's just kind of cool.
Cruelty Squad?
Crunko Pop? Yeah.
But it's actually the animation that they have on this little screen is actually really kind of nice. This stupid little black and white LCD screen that never turns off. It's actually it did a good job. Cranky, not bad at all. But there's not a lot of meat on the bone. It's just literally a simple little game. Now, what I want to show you as well is this one. This is the Taylor Swift Bliss. Taylor Swift. I wanted to mix in Swift as in the bird Swift and then Bliss, but I completely screwed that up.
It's just a Taylor booby.
Taylor.
That's perfect.
So this is an RPG. It reminds me surprisingly a lot. There's a little bit of like Pokemon-ish in there. Wow. And so you have the character moves around, right? You can talk to people.
Actually, well-designed looking.
So this is one of the there's like seasons of content for the console. Downloads it wirelessly. This is one of the first 2 games that are loaded up on your console. It's this and this really bad surfing game.
Jeff Grubb loves that surfing game.
And that surfing game is by the folks that made Curse to Golf too, which is a completely different type of thing. But hello there, lad. Whatever, get out of there. So yeah, you get dropped into this town, and your goal is to just take pictures of birds. But look out! There's like a team of ruffian kids that run around and do stuff. And you use the crank. It's like wow. The crank to rotate the item wheel, and you select what you want, right? So it's
Zach's in right now.
Yeah,
so I'm literally typing in play date.
Let me zoom in. Oh, the bird got away. Where's the birdie? Where's the bird? Oh, I thought I saw him over here. The birdie is running, but it's kind of cool. You use this Taylor, and then you take a picture. Bam, took a picture of the bird, and it's a bumbling hoverbird. How does it even fly? It's kind of cool. You keep you basically take you take the pictures of these birds. You're literally a birder, and you go around, you find stuff, you do stuff. And look at this guy's taking pictures of birds. Will a bird pop out of here? I don't know. It's just really fun. Really simple. Let me show you the pictures of birds I got. I got the chirping, bumbling hoverbird. I got the sitting black-bodied bobby. The strutting junk bird. The sitting gorm. Sitting bunker-bellied tree tapper. And you can get sitting versions or flying versions, hopping versions. It's kind of cool. And so the game actually has you get your first 10, and there's a sitting meatball and pet tower. You get your first 10, and then you have to kind of get different variations of them. Like you have to get a flying version, you have to get a sitting version, you have to, and then you're obviously facing off against this team. It's got a little bit of Pokemon in there. It's got a little bit of Pokemon Snap. It's just a really fun, really well done little game, and it's so awesome. I think Taylor, I actually think you would like it because it's got this silly little
naturally.
So the birds and stuff in there. So yeah. Anyways, and it auto saves it, which is kind of cool. And then the other game, there's a Whitewater.
I just pre-ordered one. So.
Did you really? Nice. You can code online. Code your games online for their app. They have an online website. You can actually literally develop Playdate games online. And then you can sell them on itch, and you can sideload them real easily. Whitewater Wipeout is the other game that comes in it. Crank to it. There you go. Sweet. And let's see how far I can. Next time.
How about you don't go backwards, Dally?
It's a little more difficult to control. Do a border roll.
Wow, I hate
Crank it, yo.
I'm canceling my pre-order.
But yeah, anyways, Turtle Wave. But it's cool. And then I think I got one more game that I want to show here. Cranky Life's Too Short, Dungeon Escape. Oh, these two more games, sorry. Cranky Bird, which is exactly what you think it is. It's actually it's what's the stupid bird? Flappy Bird, but you're using the crank, and there's a story to it. So you're not just trying to avoid stuff and just get points. You're actually living out this story where this bird is trying to get home to his wife and do stuff.
He's
and you're
never
like
getting
bumping
home.
in. Yeah, he's never gonna get home. He's gonna die. If you look at how I'm playing, he's gonna die. But it's actually kind of interesting. I do dig it. It's Cranky Bird. It's like Flappy Bird. If Flappy Bird was I gotta do this way. There you go. If Flappy Bird actually had a story to it.
But also it's a pun on Angry Bird. So.
It is. So they did it a bunch. So let's see if I can get over here. But yeah, it's just kind of a fun little crank version of Angry Bird and Flappy Bird coming together. And can I get this up here? Oh, I died. Whatever. Anyways, yeah, it's kind of cool. And then the last game
is it a
that was suggested to me.
Oh.
Yes, no. It's so these Casual Birder and Wipeout are based on the games that come part of the season. These other games are all games that I bought based on folks have, the actual developers messaged me and said, hey, check out my game. Trapdoors. It's kind of just a really simple puzzle game. Northhide. And it is can I do that? Oh yeah, I gotta open it. There you go. It's essentially, and I'll show you how to do this. Here we go. You got these two blocks. All right, so this is the gray. Neither of the things are gray, but there's a white one. So now the white one gets in there. Okay, I gotta get to the black pit, and the black ball goes in there. Real simple concept. You get points. Okay, get that in there. But there's no gray, so I got to keep that closed. But here comes the white one, so I'll open the white one, and I got to crank it. A simple little puzzle game, but I like it. It's like I said, sometimes a console like this. Oh, and I missed it. Oh well, -100. A console like this is great for these simple little games because it's just. It's a simple console. It's like what the Game Boy was, the original Game Boy, but it's got a crank attached to it. It's got better visuals. But I think these simple games are great for it. But then you get these cool big old RPGs like Casual Birder, but everybody's having fun developing for it. And at the point where I've started developing a game for this, which I'll hopefully in the coming weeks, I'll give little updates here and there. I'm just kind of doing something kind of real simple and fun, but here's the animation when you do open a gift. Let's see what game came in on the season pass this time. Oh, check it out. It is. This one is called. I don't know what this is. Let's open it up.
Yeah.
Sleepy Dude. What do I do? Time Travel Advent. Crankin presents Time Travel Adventures. Crank to start. It says first date. Meet at 3 p.m. Okay. So he's
that's
up.
pretty cool.
Oh, check that out. Oh, what's he doing? Okay. Oh, is it like a story? Second date, meet at 3 p.m. 3:01. Oh, I made it. Cool. Just in time.
Oh,
he
no!
missed it. Oh, I didn't crank
Turn
fast
the
enough.
deck.
Meet at 3 p.m. Oh, I get it. I gotta be careful and not. Oh, okay. Okay, so it's cranking. There's a little bit of extra stuff that goes on there.
But if you crank backwards, does it just? Oh, look at that! The time keeps going forward.
Time keeps going forward. Get that guy past. And you can also play this with see where controller is sort of weirdly blinking at the top. You can use an Xbox and PlayStation controller on this sucker too if you don't want to use the actual crank part. So it's a nice little accessibility thing that they've done in this.
Ooh, speaking of accessibility, Last Call BBS, you can hold the control key and it'll speak the game to you. Which is
Oh yeah, it was really cool. The whole thing, anything on the screen.
Yeah.
So Playdate Games, thank you to all the developers who sent me stuff. I will keep playing these Playdate games. Everybody,
Dally, how are you making the game? Is it graphical based? Is it all code based? What's the
graphical
deal?
based. It's very easy to do. So let me load up. Where is it? Where's my link here?
We do have
I have the little Playdate developer thing loaded. Oh, where did I put that link? Of course, I don't have the link in front of me. I'm Googling it. Develop for Playdate. There's an SDK, so of course you can do stuff. But there's the online one. Oh, shoot. What's it called?
Called
Pulp. Pulp. Yeah. There we go. Let me show you guys Pulp. I will stop streaming this, and I will share Pulp. And it's fun. Like, again, you could literally just start with something real simple. See, this is Pulp. It's playdate.pulp. That's it, right? And these are you can just take these things and delete stuff. This is the character. You can, if I want to do the font and write down, let's see, I'm going to play with the different fonts here and drag stuff on there. It's just kind of cool. There's, let's see, T. You can move, let me get this out of the way. Whatever. Yeah, you can play around with some stuff pretty easily. I'm just kind of rushing through this the moment, but it's cool. I would totally spend some time playing around with this and making games and making little rooms. And you can do all kinds of stuff. 2D games, 3D games. Tell it where you want to do the crank, where you want to use the crank, where you want to use different buttons. Save the game. I mean, it's all done directly within the within the browser, and then you can just spit it out to a file. Which is I think it's PDT or whatever it is. And there you go. Sell it on itch or wherever you want to sell it, or to give it away for free. But I would encourage people to do this. In fact, maybe we should have like a little mini SideQuesting game jam, and I'll feature some of these games on a future episode.
Ooh, I can set that up. I ran like 3 or 4 game jams before. So
kind of fun. I would get into it. Stefan, you said your brother's kid is really into Minecraft, wants to be a game creator. Do this. Have him play with Pulp. You can just create an account for free and just develop real simple little games. I mean, you can make a game like Adventure, which is basically this, and you could make all these different tiles if you want to do different, shapes and colors and all that kind of stuff in there. And, but I would, look at animation. It's got all kinds of stuff. It's not a lot of knowledge. I mean, it's a very real basic development platform, right? And then when you're all done, you can go ahead and just spit it out, export it, do all kinds of download the PDX.
Johnny was making one too, right?
Johnny, there you go. I just downloaded, I think it's called Professional Waste of Time was the thing I was working on. But yeah, you can download it. And Johnny was working on something, and it's very easy to, it was Johnny. Very easy to get into. So I would do that. Playdate, Casual Birder, Crunk, all that other stuff. Thank you guys. Let's get on to Zach. I wanted to get through this. Let's get to Zach and talk about what Zach has been.
Okay. I've been playing 1 game, 2 games for the show, but one game. The other game, hey, another review game next week I can talk about finally, but we get to talk about 1 review game this week and 1 Japanese game. So let me share my screen. We can get to my PowerPoint. Okay. Do I have to do anything? No, it's there. Okay. Well, I'll start with my weekly update. So usually in the SideQuesting Discord, I have been up just like talking about the game in general. I think I'm gonna stop doing that and just kind of delegating it to like this. So just like talking about it on here, so everyone can see it and just it's cool.
Keep in mind that you are going to have to attend the show in order to do that.
Yeah. And that's a good way because it makes me care, because maybe like, hey, I want to talk about Dragon Quest, so maybe I'll show up. So weekly update number 1. So I am still in version 1 of the game. There's 6 versions, 6 expansions. I'm still working. I'm almost done with version 1. It's kind of like this: you traveling around all the different places, and hearing like the background stories and all this stuff. And what's kind of cool in Dragon Quest in general, and Dragon Quest X, is the way the stories unravel themselves. Like, you just walk to a place and a cutscene will trigger. It's like you don't know there's a thing that's happening, and it's like, hey, here's some story, and it's just really naturally, like, it's like a natural feeling. You're just kind of exploring, walk to the next zone, like a big ass like demon there who's like, oh, this is the bad guy, he's doing a thing, he's gone, I've never seen him before until here. And you get to visit all these places out of order, whatever. So it's a really interesting and fun kind of natural way you're exploring these worlds, and everyone's been referencing this thing the whole time, so it's kind of just cool, like, oh, there it is. It's really interesting, and it mirrors a lot of what Final Fantasy XIV did in its first expansion, where you introduce you to these worlds, the society, these countries and their societies, and the economic structures, and like the things outside of that and how they interact. So I'm just learning a lot about the world, and it's just really good. So I'm gonna talk about the Discord, the people who are making this happen. So Ryan, Shobu, Super Famu, Fish Cakey, Blood, Milk. They do translations for this game, so they have this whole Discord channel, and they pull text and they run it through machine translation, then they clean it up, and that's the official translation. So it's just really cool and fun to see these people working hard on it, and seeing like I run into a grammar issue, I post it in the Discord, they say, okay, it's been changed, so it's like everyone just kind of working on it together. So it's just really cool. So the community is great. Everyone's always inviting you to do things, just open to teach you. And so I just love it. And here are my adventures this week. I played Sugoroku, which is a Dragon Quest board game that you play once a week. You redeem your tickets, get to play this board game where you travel around, level up, fight things, things change on you. It's kind of like Mario Party, but you're working together. Each person's a different class. And at the end of it, if you beat the boss, you can get some pretty cool accessories that are like pretty important. Like, I got a best in slot accessory, which is super cool. Here's me and some friends killing a boss. There is a pirate. I'm the little guy in the bottom. So the pirate, what they do is they set up these cannons, and they use them as like pets basically, and they shoot cannons. And then the guy to the left of me, his name's Yuki. Also Taylor's dog's name, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that is correct. That is my dog's name.
And he's a gadabout. A gadabout is a character that just kind of fucks around, and he like teases.
What's it called?
Gadabout.
You gotta forget about it. Hey,
it's kind of like a little jokey clown character. They do a lot of weird, things. It's fun. It's really interesting gameplay mechanic. It's all RNG based, which I like. And there's that. I got a pig. There's my pet. And I bought a house too. There's my house behind me, and I got a little farm, so I'm starting farming. And and then here's some funny translations I ran into. I screenshot those and send them to the Discords. They also have a channel in there to show off funny things. Let's see. This door is keyed. This door is locked. But said this door is keyed. Cool. So we fixed that. Next one. This Yeah, what do you do? Fishing, fish pond, fish, put fish, let fish go, fish on record, view description. That's like it just kind of ran all the translations for the options together, so they fixed that as well. Yeah, it's just fun. It's really cool to see the people making the tools. And this week, actually, they updated the tool set. So there's 2 tools that you need to play the game, essentially. One's called Clarity. Clarity makes the text insert like this. And it also translates the menus, character names, spell names, quest dialogue. So it's like it does all of that. And then Akmon is the other one. It pops up like this, and it does letters and some other things, but they combine those together and they auto update now. So each time there's a new script pushed or a new update to the tools, it'll just automatically do that. So that happened this week. Here's another one. We have arrived at our first town. It would be a good idea to change the location of the revival point in case of total annihilation. And we talked about this in the translation Discord channel. I was like, annihilation sounds kind of cool. So they just kept it. So that's going to be it. And here's this one. It seems to be just a well without any kind of hentai. We don't know how this one happened.
Love it.
But it's just
I would assume that it's
pervert.
Like either or weirdness. Sometimes weird can be like a weird, like a pseudo offshoot, but I don't know, maybe there's also a thing about perverts being in wells. I don't know.
So it's just one of those like
Quest. I mean, it's very possible.
Yeah, so it was just like really interesting. It's just cool to be like, hey, this happened, like let's like fix it, let's fix it, or let's laugh at it. So that's kind of that's the end of that one. But I'm gonna keep doing these like every week because there's a lot of cool mechanics and things I talk about in the Discord, but I kind of just want to hold those off so everyone can hear about them because I think they're pretty cool. Now here's the big one.
Oh boy. A Switch port got owned. All right.
Yeah, this is obviously this is the PC port of Disgaea 6. Obviously, it's going to look better than the Switch version because it's a Switch. But I wanted to make a review that is funny, so this is what I did. So what makes a game good? So we can think about it in 2 ways, not 2 ways. How about 1 way? Aesthetic beauty. When a game looks good, then it just makes you feel good. Like this is aesthetically pleasing. Speed, the way the game moves, how fast it is. How well you can do the thing you want to do.
Is it a racing game?
Yeah, catch me on the track.
No, it is a strategic RPG that you can speed up really, really fast. Sometimes on the Switch, other times no. But there's this value to your eyes and brain, which are connected to your hands, which makes the game go. It makes you feel good. And sometimes when you're playing a game on the Switch, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good on your eyes or your brain. So all of that to say,
it's you like slowly going into a scream. It starts off and now it's just all caps.
all that to say, good gaming is good.
Oh, thank you.
Whoa.
Me and little boys defending Nintendo. So listen up.
Which one's me?
You're the guy
on the far right, the unshaven one.
Yeah, the guy on the far right.
With the head,
just like real life, baby. Just like real life.
It's crazy how, like, I know it's like it's dumb to say it's crazy how much better a game looks on the Switch versus the PC, but like this game isn't really a demanding looking game to begin with. It's a very simple character design, simple like aesthetic. There's nothing like demanding in the graphics. It's just really interesting how bad they made this game look. They needed to make 3 different performance modes for the game to work on the Switch. There's the normal mode, which is like 720p at like 22 frames a second on the Switch. Then there's like the performance mode, which is like 30 frames a second. It's really jaggy. And then there's the 240p version mode that runs at 60 frames a second. And it's crazy. It's crazy that they need to that they just can't figure out a way to just make it kind of work. Like how Capcom does with Monster Hunter, how Mario games are, or Zelda games are. Like they are 30 frames a second. That's fine, but they run and they feel good to handle and control, It's very strange to me how some of these games just don't work and they don't feel good to play. Look at this. This is an actual screenshot. I kept it 720p, by the way. This is an exact screenshot of the game running on the Switch in performance mode. Oh, hello?
So that's 30 FPS mode.
Yes, 30 FPS mode. I don't know why.
Lordy.
But it's stinky. No, it's bad. Warning: no babies allowed from here on. This is an adult only. This is an adult only review now.
Not
for the price of 2 Nintendo Switches, your Disgaea 6 could look like this. Look at this. This is even on the PlayStation. This is a PlayStation 4. This is the PlayStation 4 screenshot I grabbed. Like, it doesn't take that much. Like,
it takes two Nintendo Switches.
Yeah, it takes. The PS4 is probably like three Nintendo Switch Lites at least. So you got that. But like, it's just crazy how much better it feels to play this game on the PC. Like, I started up, I was like, this feels like a brand new game. Like, and this is how it made me feel. I was like, this is how it feels when you play Disgaea 6 on PC with over 2040p textures and 60 plus frames per second. It's a huge upgrade, and I think the PS5 version also came out. PS4 version also came out with the PC one. So if you're gonna want to play the game where it feels good and it doesn't hurt your eyes, definitely play it on there, and Steam Deck if you have one of those.
Did the game come out on Switch first or PC first?
It came out Switch last year, and I put in a good 80 hours on that game.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I remember us talking about it.
Yeah. I like that.
It's got that HoloLive stuff in it.
Yeah, They're also they also gave me that code for the PC version.
Right.
And then he was forced to play Disgaea 6 on Nintendo Switch undocked mode at 2040p. That's how I felt playing on my Switch Lite. It's the next game I'm reviewing is also a Switch game that I played first on the Switch. I'm playing on PC.
Oh boy!
And it's another game that isn't graphically demanding, but it's just wild to me how these studios just can't hit it. They just can't be like, hey, you know what? Maybe we should make our games look good and play well at the same time. I don't know what engine this game runs in. I know the next game I'm talking about is a Unity game, which generally has issues with Switch, but Hollow Knight runs pretty well on the Switch, and it's probably more demanding than the game I'm going to talk about. So, and it looks better. But yeah, that's this new this is a two-part series. Part 2 is going to be next week. If you want to play Disgaea 6, get it on your Steam Deck, get it on PC, get it on your PS5, get it on your PS4, get it on the Switch. I don't care. It's a good game. It's worth playing. Especially if you like
butt on Switch, but it looks good on PC.
Yeah, that's just really what it comes down to. That's what these reviews are like. This is why I like grabbing these reviews for games I've already played, because it's like the game's good. I can talk about the meat of it. Hey, why does game look bad on Switch but look good on PC or good on PS4? just
those graphical
strange.
issues no longer are a part of the conversation, right? Then you actually talk about the game proper instead of worrying.
Yeah. So like now, like with Disgaea fans, that was the huge thing they talked about. I was like, man, this game runs like doo doo. Like you can just search Switch Disgaea 6 game facts and just look at that, and it's just everyone's like, why does this game look like crap? Why does this game run like crap? I've never played a game that feels this bad. And it's like, it's a legit complaint, especially like because Disgaea, they released Disgaea 2, the re-release of that game on the Switch, Disgaea 5 on the Switch, Disgaea 4 on the Switch, and they run amazingly. And this game, the only difference is they have 3D models, and they're not even that complex looking. So it's like, where's the excuse here, guys? Like, why is adding 3D models to these little dudes making this game run at 240p? Like, it's strange. And I want an answer. I'm expecting one. Oh, what time is it? I'm expecting one in two hours Japan time. I think they're going to be ready. But yeah.
There's also the question of why they even did 3D models in the first place, but that's a
they definitely they lost some character.
Yeah.
Some character. Oh boy,
I would say
doing a lot of heavy lifting. That's some.
So I looked at the release dates here, right, and the game launched. Let's see, Switch, PS4, PS5, Switch, and PS4 launched on the same day, which in Japan for Disgaea 6, which leads me to believe that it was developed for the PS4 and then as the kind of the lead platform, and then ported to Switch, right? Where you look at games that are developed specifically for Switch, like Monster Hunter Rise, developed specifically for Switch.
A game I'm talking about next week.
The games developed specifically for Switch tend to have a little bit more control of what the console is capable of. However, it's typically when they're kind of dual pathing stuff, or they know there's going to be a PC version coming that they're holding back on some things. Upcoming Sonic Frontiers, everybody says it actually runs great on Switch. Well, it's because the Switch was the lead platform for Sonic Frontier. Surprise, which is why everybody says it kind of looks not that great on other consoles, but it looked great on Switch because that was your lead. That was your lead platform. And so I think in this case, because it's probably PS4 or PlayStation is probably the lead platform, and the Switch version was like, well, there are more Switches than there are PlayStations in Japan, PS4s and PS5s combined. So we have to make a version for the Switch.
That's regardless. A very Nippon Ichi Software decision, if I have to say so myself.
Well, no, Japanese companies know right now that if you're making a game, you have to put it on Switch, because everybody has a Switch in Japan. It's the top console. You have to put it out there, even though it's not your lead platform. It still has to go there. So you get those ports which are just ugh. But
it's wild. It's because Disgaea 5, it runs like a dream on the Switch. So it's like the only difference is the models. Like how many edges are on this guy? You know, like how many?
Well, we don't know that though. I mean, they literally could have introduced a new engine in order to go with the new art style. I mean, it could.
Let's
who
look
knows?
Let's look at that.
Disgaea 5 came out, by the way, 2 years after on Switch after PlayStation 4, so they had that good time to kind of get the game actually up and running.
It kind of boggles my mind. The only difference, like essentially, in Disgaea 6, besides the characters, is the numbers are bigger. So like you can reach 999 million, I think, level, and like 10 quadrillion damage, which is different from the other games. That's like is it the numbers that's making the Switch go, oh god, I can't do this? Like Don't know. It's just very interesting to me.
I also think it's $70 on PC.
Wow.
Is it?
It is.
Wow.
That's a very Nippon Ichi software decision, if I gotta say so myself.
I was just taking a look at the Steam.
That game is. Hey, I take it back. This game is not worth $70. So wait for it to go on sale.
Add it to your wish list and get that email.
I was just browsing. I was like, man, I wonder how much I can get Disguise 6 for. And I saw $70, and I was, huh?
I mean, all the games were on sale during the Steam sale. You could get like all the games that are on Steam, all the Disgaea games for like $40. So you kind of missed out.
Survive.
Yep. All right.
Yeah. Wait, next week's is going to be even.
I'm excited for next week's.
Yeah. I know it's coming, so I'm excited for your. I like this format. I like your talks here. These are good. Well,
I
with
need
that,
structure in my life. So
yeah, you do. I need structure too because we're coming up to 2 hours here. And when I edit,
it's time to structure the end of the show.
It's time to structure the end of the show. Next week's episode, after the direct that everybody says is definitely coming this week. Definitely, we're getting another direct this week. Definitely, there's no news recently that could have derailed it, but definitely getting a direct this week. We'll keep the show to 1 hour. My goal is 1 freaking hour.
Well, then it just
I will stop living, and then I will resurrect on the day.
Except me.
Yeah. But hey, gents, it was awesome chatting with you on a beautiful Sunday night, a very hot Sunday night here. Zach, great work on your PowerPoints, always good stuff. Up there, this guy in the corner, JJ, awesome talking about comics. I love comics and Thor. Taylor, get me into Factorio and Last Call BBS. Two of the kinds of games that I will definitely be into. I'm Last Call. I was searching Falcon's Eye as you were talking Last Call. So anybody remember Falcon's Eye, the awesome classic BBS?
Definitely check out between the two. As much as I like and enjoy Factorio, that game's not going anywhere. It also, in all of its years of being out there, has never gone on sale. Last Call BBS. I don't know. Last Call BBS gives me the warms and fuzzies. Factorio makes me want to never do anything else again.
And it's early access, and they're going to add more games. So
yep. And Dolly, Dolly, great job getting the play date up and running. Thanks, Dolly.
Dolly, you're the best. We're all proud of you.
You guys are the best.
Of the guys
I saw you cranking it.
Of the guys on the show, you are
during
the best
this show.
play date cranker there is.
Just watch the guy crank.
Just watch me crank
for 3 dudes watching their friend crank on stream
for an hour and 57 minutes. Thank you to Zach's amazing family for joining us. That was awesome.
I hope they enjoyed it. I don't know.
We appreciate the support.
And thank you to the rest of our wonderful listeners, Stefan, Playland, everybody else out there. We love you guys. And we'll see you in the next episode of the SideQuest. Bye-bye.
Bye.